Bem-vindo ao Maestria da Mente Podcast, onde abordamos o que há de melhor na neurociência e no comportamento humano. Hi, Dr. Brian. It's a pleasure to have you here as a guest of my podcast. You are widely considered one of the world's leading mind-body stress experts and has helped thousands of people heal from trauma, reduce stress, and lose weight. And it's a great pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much. Nice to be with you.
Firstly, I'd like to talk about your book because I was talked to you before how skeptical I am. I'm a very skeptical person, and after having read your book about self-hypnosis, it's changed my view of hypnosis. It actually changed my mind. I could manage to get over my phobia of flying, and in your book, yours a great inspiration for me to write my own book about hypnosis and neuroscience. I have this book here. It's in Portuguese, but when it will be available in English, I'll send a copy to you because
Thank you.
Your book changed my life and changed how I can manage my anxiety and all the challenges that I have to face. So many thanks for the book, and it's a great work. And the first question, Dr. Brian, is how did you become interested in hypnosis?
Well, I was born missing part of my back, part of L4 and L5. So I had back pain as a kid, and I was very active, athletic, very sports minded, and loved to play and kept doing it. But I was often in pain. And even the coaches would think I was faking and what's the matter with you? Why can't you run? You can't just sit there. And I'd be in excruciating pain and I would be doing the best I could. And I managed to be very good at sports, but the pain was always there for me. And so I was going to doctors and orthopedic surgeons and consultations of all kinds, hoping I would get some relief. And finally, they found, okay, you were born missing part of your back. So the nerves in between L4 and L5 were all being pinched, and that's what's causing the pain. And the only real treatment, other than everything I had tried, like physical therapy and medication and all kinds of exercises, was to get surgery. And the thing about the surgery is that they really weren't sure if it would get rid of the pain, and I could possibly be worse. And so I thought, well, neither one of those sounded good. Okay, so, and then I'd be in a body cast for 6 months and it might get worse. I might not walk again. And these are the risks. And I thought, well, wait a minute, there has to be something else. So somebody had suggested, why don't you try mind-body healing? Why don't you try medical hypnosis? Why don't you try mindfulness, meditation? Why don't you see what your mind can do? And I said, I saw the x-ray, the orthopedic surgeon said the nerves are being pinched, that's what's causing the pain. I was born with this, it's physiological. What can you do with hypnosis and mind-body healing? And they said, I don't know, but why don't you just try it before you get this crazy chance of taking a surgery that you could be worse, be crippled, be in a body cast. So I thought, okay, I'll try it. So I went to somebody, and it was a doctor who was an expert in hypnosis. And it was interesting, now that I'm an expert, years later, I was sort of boring. I daydreamed. I sort of drifted off while he was doing a lot of counting and had a lot of his own ideas. He basically talked the whole time. And I found it kind of an opportunity to just rest and see what I could come up with on my own. I guess I was practicing self-hypnosis without even knowing it. And it was okay. Didn't really help me any more than the medication or the physical therapy, but I said I would give it a month. So I went back 3 more times, and I realized I would just go into it, do my own thing, see what I could do while he did his thing. As it turned out, he was moderately expert, not really an expert. But I did my own inner work, and I felt probably about 20% less pain. Not 100%, not a miracle, not a, nothing amazing, but 20% when you're in chronic pain is noticeable. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to the orthopedic surgeon who wanted to do the surgery. I told him what I just told you. And I said, so I about 20% relief. I like it. I don't know if it's going to help, but I want to give it a chance. And he said, no, absolutely not. If you don't get the surgery now, I'm firing you as a patient because I can't take that risk of what could happen. I said, well, wait a minute. I just want to give it like a month or 2 or 3 to see. And if it doesn't work at all, I'll come back. He said, no, you have to decide today. You're either going to go that BS route that people do, the mumbo jumbo, all that, like you, a skeptic.
Yeah.
He was a skeptic. You go do that if that's what you want to do. But if you don't get the surgery with me, that's it. I'd known this doctor, this orthopedic surgeon for years. So I was shocked that he would give me that kind of confrontation.
Yeah.
So I remember walking out of his office. I remember the whole scene, the brick steps, and standing there and thinking, okay, I could go back in and say, okay, I'll get the surgery, or I could leave and take the biggest risk physically, medically of my life, not really knowing what would happen. And I walked away, and I didn't go to that guy. I went right to the library and I started reading like crazy. Medical hypnosis, mind body healing, all these visualization, creative techniques, everything I could. And I kept coming up with one person, a person by the name of Dr. Milton Erickson, who had written around 100 articles about pain. And he got into it because of his pain. He was born with polio. He was supposed to die in his teens, and he was now close to 70. And I thought, well, that's impressive. And I read, and it was fascinating and amazing. And so I wrote to him. I hand wrote him a letter, told him the same story I told you.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to learn how to do self-hypnosis and hypnosis. And I want to help myself and help other people. And I'm in pain all the time. And I want to be able to be free of the pain. And he wrote me back a handwritten letter saying, very interesting. I believe this could be good, but you need to get a PhD in psychology or a medical doctor degree before I will train you. So I wrote him back, and I wrote, I don't really want to get a PhD in psychology. I don't really want to get a medical doctor degree. I just want to learn how to use medical hypnosis, self-hypnosis, mind-body healing to help myself and other people. He wrote me back another handwritten letter. If you get a PhD in psychology or an MD degree, I will train you. Okay. So I moved from Boston to San Diego. I traveled to Phoenix for 4 years, studied with him. I was a student. And then I became a patient because my mother actually died of ALS at that time, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, in her 40s, and very tragic, very healthy person, and then really sunk fast in that year. So he really helped me go through that emotional trauma, as well as helping me with the pain. And then I became a co-therapist because I actually was able to see patients with him, both his patients and people I would bring from San Diego. So I had a multi-level relationship and training with him as a student, patient, co-therapist. He helped me write my first book, the self-hypnosis book, the one that helped you so much.
Yeah.
He helped me do my PhD dissertation, helped me get my first job teaching at the University of California in San Diego. And he said to me on the very first day I met him when I got to Phoenix, he said, I've been doing this for 50 years and I still have a lot to learn. Now, on the first day, that was a little discouraging because I thought, oh my goodness, 50 years later, you still have a lot to learn. I'm on day one. This is going to be quite the journey. So it turned out to be true. I've written 12 books since then. I've been teaching, as you know, all around the world. My books are in many different languages. They're in 100 countries. They're in dozens of languages, the books, the programs, the courses. Now I train physicians, train therapists, train coaches. I train a lot of athletes. I train actors and actresses. So I train anybody who was like me, who really wants to tap into their unconscious mind, their inner wisdom, their true authentic self. Once they can get past all the issues of their body, all the emotional issues, all the psychological issues. So that's a lot of deep inner work so that they can get to that reservoir, the inner wisdom, like what you were able to do to be able to fly when you hadn't been able to fly.
Yeah.
You tapped into your own inner wisdom. My book facilitated that, but it was you, all you. So I, like Dr. Erickson, facilitate people tapping into their own inner wisdom. I oftentimes call it their inner doctor, their inner true sage, because that's the name of my company, True Sage. So I really believe that we're facilitating people finding their own spontaneous wisdom, brilliance, genius that you can't program or plan or do mantras or do affirmations. It has to come from deep inside, mind, body, heart, and soul, but it has to be released as a result of relaxing the body, relaxing the emotions, relaxing the mind. And there is this wellspring of inner wisdom that everybody has. So that's the journey from my pain, one of my best teachers, to Dr. Erickson, to doing all the work that I do now. And yes, after all these years, I'm still learning because everybody's so different. My sessions are typically 8 hours with one person, 3 days at the beach. So there are surf breaks, don't worry. And it's deep inner work. And then I follow people up for years and decades, but it's deep inner work. And I learned to do these all day, 8 hour sessions at the beach because my sessions with Dr. Erickson were as long as they needed to be. Sometimes they were 8 hours. Sometimes they were a couple hours. Sometimes they were 3 days. Sometimes they were less. So whatever the individual is going to benefit from the most, that's the way the treatment plan is designed.
That's a great testimonial for sure. And
Yeah.
I heard and I know many definitions about hypnosis. And in your opinion, what is hypnosis?
Hypnosis is exactly what we're talking about right now, which is tapping into the deepest you, deeper than your emotions, deeper than your thinking, deeper than your body sensations and awareness, your deepest inner wisdom, your gifts that you are connected to, part of your purpose in life, who you are, the true, authentic you. I oftentimes call it the last row you, like in a movie. The last row you has the biggest picture perspective, like a second watcher. The first watcher, the meditation, the yoga is like the 15th row, tends to think too much, tends to worry if we're doing it right or wrong, tends to be a perfectionist. That's the 15th row, first observer. And then you have the movie of your life, which is your relationships, your work, your body, your emotions. So everybody has a movie of their life, and everybody has a first observer, that 15th row perfectionist, who, by the way, has a lifetime membership. You can't get rid of it. And then the second observer, what I call the last row, is really a very helpful metaphor for the inner wisdom, inner doctor, inner true sage. And so all hypnosis, self-hypnosis, all the best mind body healing, all the best healing approaches in the world all tap into that inner true sage, inner doctor, inner wise woman, inner wise man. And that's what hypnosis is getting to the essence of your inner brilliance to help you resolve and heal spontaneously as you work through the barriers and the walls that all turn out to be bridges anyway to get you to your inner wisdom, your inner doctor, your inner true sage.
Perfect. And
Yeah.
you talked about Dr. Milton Erickson, and I'd like to know who is the most relevant character in the history of hypnosis and why.
Right. Well, yeah, I would say Milton Erickson changed the entire world because his focus was on individualizing and personalizing it. So he was really the first specialist. Everybody else was more of a generalist. You do this technique, Hilgard, did a lot. Mesmer certainly did some. There's been a lot of wonderful people. There's been people that really caught on to Dr. Erickson's approach, which is really the approach that works the best for the most people because it is tailored to fit the individual. And some of his people, one that's incredible, and people can read about Ernie Rossi. He really did a
Mm-hmm.
lot to enhance what Dr. Erickson was already doing, and they even wrote together and worked together, and he was a student as well as a colleague, and also did his own work similar to mine. And uh, I would say there are very few people that have been able to practice and have that amount of experience to be able to help people as much as Dr. Erickson. So the good news is there's plenty of room for new people that are interested and want to make this their area of expertise if they love it and they have a passion for it. So it's really less than a handful of people. And you'll find, whether it's Ernie Rossi or Dr. Erickson, you'll find some others globally around the world
Mm-hmm.
that are wonderful. Another person that comes to mind is Kay Thompson. Interestingly enough, dentist, but incredibly talented and gifted. I think one of Dr. Erickson's favorite students. Another one is Joseph Barber, brilliant, creative, person. So there's a handful of people that people can find when they search medical hypnosis, mind body healing, and maybe more. Yeah.
And what is the main applications of hypnosis that you use today in your clinical practice?
Okay. Well, there's a study that I've been involved with for about 25 years called the ACE study, which stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences, and started out with around 17,000 people. Now millions of people have answered the 12 ACE questions. And it's basically yes or no questions about your childhood. And based on your childhood experience, they're able to predict, and still are able to predict, if people are going to become an alcoholic, a drug addict, homeless, commit suicide because of experiences they had growing up, like mental illness in the family, or depression, or alcoholism, or incarceration, or suicide. So most of how we develop as people comes from our families and our upbringings, as has been scientifically proven by the ACE study. So a lot of my books and a lot of my work has been treatment solutions as part of the ACE study. So I'm very much involved in trauma recovery, self-healing, facilitating people resolving their issues from childhood efficiently, really in a way that's much less expensive than long-term work. You can get to solutions really efficiently when people really tap into their inner wisdom. So the trauma, the healing, life experiences, addictions really comes from the ACE study. And that's where I've spent a lot of my work since working with Dr. Erickson, is with another brilliant medical doctor at the level of Dr. Erickson by the name of Vincent Felitti, Felitti, around 6,000 medical journal references to the ACE study. So that's a huge area for me, is ACEs. I've also been working with sports teams and individual athletes, from surfers to skaters, football, basketball, tennis, golf, Olympics, you name the sport. I've worked with their coaches, their family, the individuals. And I love that because I love sports. So that's really fun. Work with a Super Bowl championship team the year they won, baseball players, rookie of the year. tennis players, top people in the world, golfers, top people in the world, because typically sports, even like healing and trauma, if you're not tapping into your inner wisdom, you tend to get stuck in that 15th row, first observer, inner critic, inner judge, perfectionist, never satisfied, never good enough, sort of self-doubter that keeps people who are wonderfully gifted in life and in sports from really achieving their full potential. With hypnosis, you actually, instead of doing what pretty much most therapies do and most cognitive approaches do, of trying to stop people from being angry at themselves, stop being negative, stop being a perfectionist. With hypnosis, you do the opposite. You encourage that inner critic, inner judge, perfectionist, never satisfied, never good enough part of you, and you give it a voice. You allow the stream of consciousness to flow. You listen to it. You develop a collaborative relationship with that part of you. Pretty soon, it's helping you tap into your inner wisdom to be able to play your sport at the highest level that you've ever played before, even before you got into the sport and got stuck. Once you tap into your inner wisdom, you reach a level you've never been at before, better than ever, making more success, making more money, having more fun, really getting the joy of it. So that's been a wonderful time. I still do it all the time. I'm doing it right now with basketball because it's the NBA championship, and I love the teams, and I have one particular coach that I love. He loves this work that we're talking about now. And then actors and actresses, you and I spoke briefly about that. I've worked with a lot of movie stars and famous singers, rock stars, most famous rock bands in the world, because you have to be able to be free inside to perform at your best, to be able to play sports or acting or singing or in a band. You have to be free inside, because basically everything is a self-portrait or an autobiography. If you're stressed about your life, if you don't trust yourself, if you're mad about something in your relationship, if you're down about something in your family, it shows up in your acting, it shows up in your sport, it shows up in your life, because we're so sensitive, we're impacted and affected by that. So we have to work through those things. We have to get free of them. We have to deal with them really honestly, really openly, not try to get rid of them, not try to block them, not internalize and stuff them. Do the opposite, bring everything up and deal with everything, so that whether you're a movie star or a singer or a rock star or an athlete or a person struggling with weight or a person struggling with stress, you want to really open up, be as open with exact skills, like with exact techniques, and resolve these issues so that you can be free and be at your best. In fact, one of the things that came out of the ACE study is a company that specializes in weight loss, and it's relish.life. And it's so interesting because you think of weight, oh, if people want to lose weight, they should just eat less and exercise more. Well, in fact, what we learned in the ACE study, and why Relish Life really has grown so much, is that eating oftentimes is a solution, not just a problem. It's like drugs and drinking and smoking. It's not just a problem, it's also solving a problem. The bigger you get, if you're a guy, the less people bother you. So there's advantages to being overweight. The bigger you get as a woman, the less sexual BS you have to deal with. The overweight is overlooked, one of the participants taught us. So the solution of using drugs or food, in this case, overeating, is really overlooked by all the weight industry and diets. Oh, you need to eat less and exercise more. So they're taking away a solution. So it's not just a problem. So we learned so much about what goes on in the psyche of people to be able to help them. So I've learned to love the area of weight loss because of the ACE study and Relish Life, and as well as sports, because I love sports. So that's always fun. I love when everything's online and it's, uh, world championship, Olympic, basketball, golf, tennis, whatever it is, surfing, skating, all those sports. Same with acting and being a rock star. Everything's on the line. You're it. It's all you right now. And so you have to really be able to be connected to that deep inner wisdom to perform at your best. Doesn't mean you don't have an inner critic. It just means you have that part of you helping you, not interfering. Doesn't mean you have a lot of emotions and fears and worries. You just learn to utilize those and bring them into your character and tap into that and have it help you instead of be a barrier and a block. It makes a world of difference. Yeah.
Yeah, you've talked about some athletes and superstars and who use self hypnosis. I heard that Tiger Woods used self hypnosis when he was still playing golf. Is this
Mhm.
true? Can you say some superstars or famous persons who
Definitely.
still use is self hypnosis?
They and truthfully, they all do. Sometimes they call it self hypnosis. They've read my book, or I know them, or they have seen me as a client. Sometimes they call it visualization. Sometimes they call it meditation. Sometimes they call it guided imagery. So there's a lot of synonyms. And the truth is, it really doesn't matter. What matters is that you're tapping into your own creativity, your own imagination, your own inner resources. So with golf, I remember working with a golfer who couldn't win, meaning couldn't come in first place for 10 years. Wonderful golfer, now one of the top golfers in the world, because he didn't have that sort of killer instinct that you have to come in first place and beat everybody else. Because a lot of times you feel bad, the other people are nice people. Do you really want to beat them? And even though it seems silly, we all have that inner teenager, because like rings of the tree, we still have our 14-year-old self inside and our 8-year-old self and our 2-year-old self. So we all have all of our ages inside of us all the time. And so he thought was a bad thing and he couldn't do it. He just couldn't break that barrier. I saw him for probably one day, 8 hours, and he left. He hoped it would help him. He wasn't sure. He went right into getting a first place finish. Now he's one of the top 100 golfers in the world, sponsored, making all kinds of money, winning all the time, got himself freed up. Same in other sports, like famous baseball players that everybody knows their names, football players that couldn't quite get to the level that they were capable of because of self-doubt, because of their inner 14-year-old, because of their perfectionist. And in sports, including Tiger, including many different athletes, they've been able to use self-hypnosis to really get freed up and perform better than ever before. There really isn't a sport, including the Olympics, Winter and Summer Olympics, that I haven't worked with somebody who has been able to take it to the very top. Now, remember, with hypnosis, it's not me. It's I have the techniques and skills to facilitate them. I can't skate like they can skate,
Mhm.
not at all. I can't surf like they can surf. I can't golf like they can golf. All I can do is facilitate their inner abilities, their inner potentials. So misunderstanding with hypnosis is that the hypnotist or the doctor has the power. Absolutely untrue. Nothing could be further from the truth. And anybody that acts like that, it's just an act, because anybody in the field knows that we're facilitating like a maestro of an orchestra.
Yeah,
We're not playing an instrument.
you're only
They're
guiding. You're only guiding the
yes,
person.
exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's so important.
Yeah, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
what is self hypnosis? How is the best way to practice self hypnosis?
Okay. So self hypnosis is getting into a state of consciousness, a mindset, mind, body, heart, and soul, a mind, body, spirit, getting into a state of experience where you are completely open to all of your inner resources. Now we're talking billions of neurons here, billions. We're talking about the most powerful pharmacy in the world in between your ears. Okay. So nobody ever taps into all of their inner resources. It'd be impossible. So the inner resources, the inner potential are beyond your imagination. Simply stated, your unconscious mind is smarter than you are. And in self hypnosis, you are connecting with the part of you that's smarter than you, your inner wisdom, your inner true sage, your unconscious. So that's the first point. Now, what are the best ways to practice? Okay. So there's really like meditation with self hypnosis, there's really two sort of general ways. You can, if you're a turtle kind of person, you're the Zen person that likes to sit back, sort of watch the birds in the trees. You're the turtle. You do yoga. You love passive, relaxed experiences. Or you're more of a racehorse and you want to run. You want to move. You want to be active. You get into the best states when you're dancing, when you're working out, when you're in the water. So if you're a racehorse kind of person, you want to do active self-hypnosis techniques where you're doing it while you're in movement. So you're being true to who you are. So you're utilizing your self-hypnosis to tap into your unconscious while you're surfing, while you're jogging, while you're working out, while you're active, while you're walking. Okay. And if you're more of a turtle, then you're laying on the grass, looking up at the clouds flow by, watching the birds. So that distinction is important because a lot of people that want to meditate and do self-hypnosis, they'll say, I can't sit still. I can't stop thinking. I can't meditate. I can't do self-hypnosis. I can't shut my mind up. I can't do it because their resource is trying to be turtles, which is kind of awkward. Okay. Yeah. So the turtles want to sit back, want to close their eyes, because as soon as you close your eyes, you automatically go inside. If your eyes are open, you tend to be, what are they thinking of me? What's going on around you? So turtles want to close their eyes. And now the kinds of techniques that are beautiful, you have to remember, you have to really get out of your own way emotionally, physically, mentally. So a lot of times I'll have people get a writing utensil, put it in their non-dominant hand, and with their eyes closed, I want them to connect with and express everything that's going on emotionally, everything in their head, everything in their body. And the reason I use their non-dominant hand or have them use the non-dominant hand is because we want that to become non-dominant. We want the physical, emotionals to be non-dominant. So let go, let go, let go, let go, but really express, express, express to get out of your own way. And then when that all gets emptied out, people usually think that's going to take a lot of hours. It usually is minutes. When they finish, they go to their dominant hand. That's when they get to their unconscious and come up with their own best answers, which you want your unconscious, you want your own inner wisdom to become dominant. So use your dominant hand. So that's a wonderful technique that actually works for turtles and racehorses. But basically, we have to do with both of them ways, techniques, whether it's this and this, or sitting back or being active, to be able to get out of our own way to get to our unconscious. Okay. So some people, for example, if you can't quiet your mind, like a lot, certainly racehorse people can't quiet their mind. They call it the monkey mind. It just basically never shuts up. Okay. From the time they wake up to the time they go to bed. So some nice techniques to quiet your mind is everybody has a vibe. Everybody has like a note. If you like music or love music, everybody has a note or a sound or a chord that they connect with. whether it's C sharp or F minor or whatever it is. Everybody has a sound. So you find your own sound. Your own
Hmm.
hum. You hold your whole exhale. So you could do this with me right now, where you inhale and close your eyes, and on the exhale, you hum and just find your tone till you don't have any exhale, any breath left. So it's a
Yeah, it's amazing.
and do that for 5 or 10 breaths. Your mind will be quieter than it's been probably in years. If your mind's super busy, you do it for maybe 5 minutes, your mind will get quiet. And it only might be for a few minutes. And then as soon as you finish with your dominant hand, you write down whatever's there. That's your inner wisdom right there. Your spontaneous creativity is coming right out. So humming is a great technique. Working out is a great technique, but basically, whether it's the turtle or the racehorse or the humming or the non-dominant or the dominant hand, right? It's always about really accepting and letting go, not trying to fix, change, solve, or get rid of whatever's going on emotionally,
Hmm.
whatever's going on physically, whatever's going on mentally. And as you accept and let go and judge and let go and accept and let go and judge and let go and get it all out, self-hypnosis begins. You
And
feel
after this humming exercise, we can suggest ourselves. You use
it, you
this way.
say that again. How many exercises?
Yeah, yeah. After this humming exercise, you quiet your mind, and after that, you can suggest yourself. You work this
It
way.
comes to you. It
Okay.
just comes to you. You don't actually do it. It bubbles up from inside.
Okay.
So it's not a mantra, it's not an affirmation. All those are different techniques, and those can work where you go plant seeds that you would love to nurture and help them grow. What we're talking about right now is what comes up naturally, spontaneously from our unconscious. But if you're getting to the another approach, I mean, I literally have hundreds of techniques, hundreds and hundreds of
Yeah.
in the one book you read.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
written 12 books. It's probably thousands of videos and thousands of techniques that because I love techniques that work, because I come at it from a patient because of my original back pain. So you have to teach me, and I have to teach people things that actually work efficiently and can continue to work. So the planting of seeds idea of coming up with suggestions and techniques, I might write some things down at the beginning of what would I love to accomplish? What would I love to integrate into my daily life? What is my greatest desire? And
Hmm.
I'll write it down, I'll draw some pictures, and I'll just sort of have those as seeds. I'll put it aside. I'll do my techniques to quiet my emotions, my mind, my body, go through my processes. I love so many different techniques that can do this. And, I just really the fun and relaxing and playful. And then I might open my eyes for a minute if I might need to, or moments if I need to, or I might remember it, and then focus on literally planting seeds of my greatest desire, what I would love to integrate into my daily life, not what I'd like or need or want, what I'd love to integrate into my daily life. Because love is the
Hmm.
most powerful healing force in the world. So when we love to integrate something into our daily lives, those seeds will grow much better. And it's important after the self hypnosis, after you're pleasantly surprised with what you come up with, to let the seeds grow. It's like planting a garden. After you plant the seeds, you don't dig them up and see if they're growing. You have to actually let them
Yeah.
grow,
Exactly.
nurture them and, take care of them, get them some light, get them some water. It's the same thing with the inner seeds.
Yeah, perfect. Working directly with actors and actresses here in Brazil, I found that most of them are very hypnotizable. And how
Right.
did you get interested in hypnosis and acting?
Uh, Mostly by the people that came to me, people that reached out to me because they'd read my books or they know somebody that I helped. And so they would come to me and ask me if I could help them go deep. The thing about acting and actresses and actors is that they've developed the ability to leave themselves and become somebody else.
Yeah,
So they've learned to detach, they've learned to dissociate, they've learned to deny and actualize. And so they already have that ability to be themselves, put themselves aside, and get into a persona, an avatar, get into another person's being. Now, to be able to do that at a deep level, so you actually are that person, is a phenomenal ability that not that many actors and actresses have, but that's what you're teaching. That's what I teach. And so after I work with one person in a movie or on a TV show, then everybody comes because they see how much the person
yeah,
improved. So first I start with one, and then I'm working with, a dozen.
yeah,
I want to come, can I come? I want to be able to do that. And again, they're able to do what they've always done really well, much better. So it's not like you can get somebody who hasn't done it become great. These people are already really
yeah,
good. They just become great
yeah,
because they reach another level. It's sort of that once you tap into your unconscious, you're performing at a level that you've only imagined could be possible. And now you're able to do it all the time, which is makes it much more enjoyable too. Takes a lot of the pressure off.
yeah. To end this amazing conversation with you, I'd like to know how do you see the use of hypnosis in the future?
Well, it's now in most medical institutions. So I've seen it get integrated into most medical institutions for most medical conditions. There's a lot of hypnosis with cancer, there's a lot of hypnosis with immune system problems because of the ACE study, the Adverse Childhood Experience study. Hypnosis is really being utilized in treatment centers, therapy centers, rehab centers. So I would say it's probably in all of those places, it is of a small amount. And I see in the future, it will grow to be utilized much more by many more people for many more applications. In schools, I've been doing this work in schools for decades with from kindergarten up, and I've written books for small size kids, medium sized kids, and grown up sized kids. So
Amazing.
teenagers. So in schools is another use for all of these techniques. I've been doing them for a long time. Teachers, students, parents, sometimes you need to say, okay, we're going to use self-hypnosis, relaxation, meditation, mind-body healing, mindfulness, so that they feel, oh, okay, I'm comfortable with all that. So sometimes you have to sort of make it a bouquet of techniques so they're more relaxed about it. Because self-hypnosis and hypnosis still has some of that, oh, I don't want somebody controlling my mind. Well, that
Hmm.
doesn't
Yeah,
happen, but they think it might. Okay. Or I don't want to give my mind up to anything or anybody. Well, you don't. You actually let go of some control to gain a greater control. So the misunderstandings usually have to be really dealt with so that people can, oh, okay. Well, that sounds fine then. I'm willing to do that. So, because when you do it with kids, you have to make sure the parents are okay with it. Once they understand that they are, almost all the time. So schools, universities, medical schools, graduate schools, coaching schools, sports, all of the therapy, rehab, all the medical institutions, everywhere that anybody needs to tap into the power of their mind. If they don't use these techniques, then they're sort of hopping around on one foot. And when they start to use these techniques, they really get the full benefit of being who they are. And it's really just helping people be more effective
Yeah,
as themselves.
yeah,
It's not the power of hypnosis or self-hypnosis, it's the power of the person.
yeah.
That's
Of
really
course,
with the
of course.
power of the unconscious mind.
Yeah. We just
Yeah.
don't know how to use it effectively, right?
Yet,
Yes,
yet,
yes,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You have been doing a great work with hypnosis in US and all over the world. I thank you a lot for your time and for your
Oh,
book, who helped me a lot.
I'm so
You know,
glad.
it actually transformed my life, and it's
Yeah.
an honor to talk to you today. And that's it. Many thanks, and I hope.
I want to say before you finish, I want to offer you a gift. One of my recent books
Wow.
that really
Yeah,
captures
yeah.
all this is Your Inner Voice, and I want to send you
Thanks.
the audio of the first chapter that tells the story that I told you in detail, and you can share it with
Okay.
your people watching your podcast.
Yeah.
So I'm going to send you
Yeah.
the link, and then you can feel free to share it. I know you'll love it.
Yeah.
It's in my voice. I recorded the whole thing. Actually, it's interesting. I got into it so much that in Amazon you can get the audio book, and I think it's about 2 hours. When I did it, it's a 10-hour audio book.
That's
So I
amazing.
made
Oh,
it
yeah.
like an
I like
8 hour,
it.
like an
I'll
all-day
enjoy
beach
for sure.
session. Yeah, I couldn't help myself.
Yeah,
And then yeah,
I'll share the
so I'm gonna
link for sure.
I'm gonna send that to you after we finish. Thank you for the
Thank you.
interview.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
I really love to talk to you, and that's it, Dr. Brian. Thanks again, and hope to talk to you again soon.
I look forward to seeing you in person at the beach.
Yeah, goodbye.
Okay, bye.